Hey guys, welcome to this yet another training session at Agency School, in which I'm talking about how you can start your consulting services. And in this part of the training, I'll tell you how to price your services. We'll talk about pricing because pricing is one of the most confusing part for most students who are starting their service new, who haven't pitched a client, who don't have a portfolio, don't have the context about the industry, and now when they're pitching to a client, so many things go through their mind when they are giving their pricing to their client, because even for the clients, and so many things goes through the client's mind, and so many things go through your mind that pricing a service becomes very challenging uh, for you as a consultant, as the agency owner. So in this part of training, let's go over the strategies I personally use to price my services, how I approach pricing when I started providing the services, how I approach pricing of services now. So let's jump right in. So let's look at the price range of different services that I'm currently providing, or maybe you can start with, and I'll give you price range of each service. And this is not definitive pricing. There are freelancers, consultants, and agencies that can go way lower than this and way higher than this. But I'm just giving you an example of how much I personally charge, my company charges for these services. For example, for influencer marketing, so I haven't charged a client $400, but there are freelancers or people who can manage influencer marketing project $400, but I charge anything between $1,000 to $1,500 per month. For UI designing, I typically charge $1,000 of a flat fee to design an e-commerce website. People charge between $200 to $2,000 for SEO. I charge my clients anything around $1,000 or $1,500 depending on scope, but people charge between, I think, $400, maybe even lower, from $200 to $2,000 and more. For brand consulting, I charge my clients anything around $1,500 to $2,000. People charge more or less. For social media management, I charge my clients anything between I do between $1,000 to $1,500 is the monthly retainer I typically charge my clients, and sometimes even more when I have to produce content for them. But freelancers, their pricing start something around $400 per month. For copywriting, it can go from $100 to $2,000 or way more than that depending on the scope of work. Facebook paid ads, you can charge $300 to $5,000 per month. The max I've charged a client is $2,000 per month for my Facebook paid ad service, just for the paid ad service. To BankCube, that's a fashion, it's a streetwear label based in Southeast Asia. Instagram marketing, freelancers work anything around $400. I charge my clients up to $2,000 or $2,500, and my charges for Instagram marketing services, the lowest I've gone is $700 for certain brands that were really small when I started out new. And I have charged again up to $2,000 when I have to create a lot of content for a client. I've gone up to $2,000, and there's instances when I charge my clients even more, and when I pitch my clients even more. They haven't hired me for more than that, but I've charged way more than that as well. I've pitched more than that as well. For media outreach, $400 to $1,000, even marketing, $400 to $1,500, Shopify design development. A freelancer can build a Shopify store for $100 or $200. An agency like mine charges between $4,000 to $6,000. So as you can see, the pricing varies a lot depending on who's charging it and who is paying. There's no rules that define the pricing, but in this part of the training, I'm going to tell you what does it take to charge a client a premium. By premium, I mean slightly on the higher side, on pricing that's on the higher side, that enables you to make profit from a project. You should be working on a project on cost to cost basis. You should make good money so that you can work with the client in the longer run, can give client value. You're excited about the project, and that you can really help the client grow. And you can only do that if you charge the client well. If you undercharge a client, you cannot help the client because your motivation is low. You are constantly looking for alternates, and you don't give a client your 100% until you're happy that what client is paying you, and you are also afraid of losing the client. That keeps you on your tips to on your toes to ensure that you do everything that you can to give results to a client so that the client stays with you. So let's start with this, that you cannot charge a premium to a client starting out. When you're new, you cannot charge a premium to a client unless or until you have these 5 things. And what are these 5 things are? Until you have the expertise, portfolio, upfront value, content, and perceived value. Okay, let me explain these 5 one by one, because only you can only charge high to a client, especially when you're new, if you have these 5 qualities. Number 1, expertise. That's the core of this training. I've told you that when you talk to a client, you should be able to say that I'm expert in what you're doing. I'm an expert when it comes to solving your problem. I have done a lot of work with other clients, or maybe my only focus is on your industry solving this particular problem that you have. For example, helping fashion retailers get more sales, get more traffic. This is my expertise, and this is why I'm charging more. So that's a definite reason to charge a premium to a client, and client sees a clear value in hiring an expert. So first thing, expertise. Number 2, portfolio. It can be yours or it can be borrowed. A client is not going to pay a premium to you, is not going to pay you very high, especially if the client asks for it. It's a different case if the client forgets asking you about the client, or they're so impressed from your content, from your website, from your communication, or they just forget asking about your portfolio. But if the client, I would say in most cases, the client does remember asking you for your work, in that case, make sure that you have a portfolio if you want to charge a client. And the portfolio doesn't have to be yours. Like I always say, it can be your portfolio, it can be a borrowed portfolio, a portfolio of a freelancer, a friend who has done a similar work. Make sure when you go to a call, you take your portfolio with you to show it to the client. And it doesn't have to be an industry specific portfolio. Just find the nearest you can go, the closest you can go to presenting them an example of that you have done a very similar work for them. For example, if you are going to pitch a client in the fashion vertical, but you have in the limited amount of time, you could only find a freelancer who has done work in food. In that case, you can present your food work to a fashion client, saying that even though we haven't done a lot of work in fashion, but we have done a lot of work in food, and both industries are common in a way that they both go on perceived value. They are very visual. Instagram is a relevant platform for both of them. I'm very interested in fashion. I'm sure we can translate the same results that we have given to our food clients to you, and we would love to work with you. Something like that. So maybe what I'm saying is that to be able to charge a premium to a client, you should be able to present a portfolio to a client when the client asks for it. You don't have to be upfront and present your portfolio, but if the client in the call asks you for it or emails you about it, you should be able to send them that gives them trust that you have done it for the clients. Okay, again, doesn't have to be yours. It can be a borrowed portfolio. I've covered this multiple times in this training. It's not very difficult to arrange a portfolio. Just find people, because there are a lot of people out there who need work. Just contact them, say that you have a lead, you have clients in this vertical. Just send me your work. I'll present your work to your clients, and we'll work together. We'll share the profits. Freelancers are very happy doing that because they lack the sales skills. Third, upfront value, sample work. This is something I haven't covered in my training a lot, but I realized because I can see that most of you guys who have joined the training, you're starting out new, and while all the rules of persuasion say that you have to dodge the client's question about giving them processes, going to strategies, but when you're starting out new, when you want to give your client some confidence, there's nothing wrong in doing initial free work for the client. There have been instances when I have gone the distance, and I even do it now when I see a client that is still not sure whether he or she is confident about our services, about our expertise, then I do test work for them. Let me give you a very recent example. I was pitching to a client that was based in Singapore, and they were into kids wear clothing, and we were talking to them about uh, taking over the Instagram account. So we were doing other work for them, but we said that we can also help you with their Instagram. And they were working with an agency based in the US, and they were not very confident. They were nervous about the idea of moving their campaign from an agency in the US that was doing mediocre work to an agency in India, and they were not sure how things will work because it was easier for them to send their samples to the US because their logistics, their third party warehouse was in the US, so it was easier for them to send them samples to the US. And in India, it's always a nightmare to send samples to India. It has been client's experience. It has been now my own experience. So the client was nervous about the idea to hire us, engage us for to let us take care of the Instagram account. So for that, I during the call I decided that I offered the client that, okay, before you hire us, if do you think it'll help you make the decision if we can send you few ideas that we have for Instagram account? To which she obviously said yes. She said, okay, send me some work samples, some test work, the ideas you have for my Instagram account. If I like them, we can talk further. So next day I sat with my partner, with my creative team, to come up with all these examples, all these posts that we can do for them, these content ideas. For example, their target audience was mothers, so we came up with a concept about that. Their target audience, mothers in the US, will care about the topics such as mother sleep, because most moms are sleep deprived. Twin love, we can post pictures about twin love. Sibling love, pet love. We can talk about social causes such as breastfeeding. We can talk about posts related to what is happening right now. For example, when I sent them these ideas, the football World Cup was going on, so we could create a post about that as well. We can talk about bathing with the kids and all the different ideas. So we sent upfront value to the client that these are the ideas, and the client really loved the ideas. So clients saw that this agency is really interested in working with us and is ready and willing to go the distance. It really gave us an edge and helped me close the deal. So that's what I mean by upfront value. Let's call this test work, because if you're on a call with the client and you're seeing that client wants to hire you but is not very confident about your expertise because you haven't showed them a portfolio, you haven't been able to convince them with your words, so just tell them that let my work speak. Give me a couple of days, I'll send you a few sample posts. If you like the sample posts, you can make the decision. And it also helps you test yourself, because in advance, before going into the campaign, that whether or not you can really justify the price. Because if the client rejects your test work, the chances are that after you take the project in and your work, you'll have problems with the client if the client is not happy with your test work. So it's a win-win for in both the cases. So don't be afraid to do free work for the client, especially when you're starting out new, when you want a client, a brand badly. Because I knew for a fact that this brand is great, they have good budgets, they are working with a top agency in the UK, and eventually we want to pitch them more services. So I wanted this client in, and I wanted them to engage us for Instagram marketing. So I offered to do free work for them. That is, we'll give you free content ideas, and I put those ideas together in a PDF and send that PDF to her. So it helped me close the deal. Let's talk about the fourth factor, that is content. You can charge your client premium if you can please them with your content, and by content I mean your blog post. Let's understand this concept. when my clients come to me after reading my ebooks and articles, they are pre-sold about the idea about my expertise. That's why there are instances when the client does hires me without checking my portfolio, checking my work, or asking me for my work, because they have read a 50 pages, a 100-page ebook that I wrote, or maybe the client read the article that I wrote on Moz, or I wrote on Fashion Bee and different blogs where I've contributed as a guest blogger. So they just read my blog and they make a picture about me, that here's an expert talking about his expertise, and they just hire me assuming that I have done a lot of work. So what happens when they get on a call with me, they are pre-sold on the idea of to work with me. They want to work with me, and the only factor they are considering is whether or not they can afford me. And from my content, they also sometimes tend to imagine that I have a lot of work, and when I say that, let me see if I can help you or not, in that way, that it makes the client really nervous that this guy is maybe famous in the industry, has a lot of work, and what can I do to make sure that I'm able to hire this guy, able to hire this agency, because they are an expert. So content plays a crucial role in helping me pre-sell myself before the client, I get on a call with the client. So the selling is happening even before the client contacts me. The selling happens when the client is reading my articles. So that's why I always recommend all my students to develop a writing routine, to write one blog post every week. If you are not sure if you're following my blog, I wrote an article uh, last this week, and the reason I'm sharing this article with you is because I want to say that I'm practicing. I'm doing what I'm asking you to do. I'm practicing what I preach. I wrote this long article about how to help your customers pick the right size. I think this has to be one of those comprehensive article about how to help e-commerce retailers reduce their returns. And I've done a lot of research. I think it took me an entire week to do all the research and write this article. And I really went the distance to make sure that it's high value. And imagine if a client, and just notice that the topic of the client is how to help your customers pick the right size and reduce order returns. So I want you to understand that for someone, a client whose problem is to reduce order returns, that means the client is getting a lot of orders every day, and that means the e-commerce brand that reads this article is going to be, I'm going to be hitting the sweet spot with this article, because the client who has the problem of too many order returns, they have a lot of orders on their website. Now when they contact me, I'm sure they'll in their marketing budgets or in their annual revenue drop down, they'll check the option of that their revenue is more than $500,000. That is the audience that I'm targeting for my consulting services. So this, if a client reads this article and then contacts me, talks to me, he already knows that this guy is an expert. He understands this problem. He's written so much about order returns, and I can easily pitch him conversion rate optimization service, and the client will be confident that this guy knows what he's talking about because he has read my article, and the article is also high quality. I'm pretty sure about that. So content helps you charge a premium to your clients. That's number 4th. Number 5th is perceived value. That's why companies have fancy offices. So what happens is that, and notice that I've marked the italics because it is not relevant in all the cases. When you're working with international clients, perceived value becomes a challenge, and the only way you can show perceived value to a client is if you can put pictures of your fancy office on your website. The clients look at your culture on the website or on your Instagram page. From there you can show perceived value, but it is not relevant because here I'm sure that the people who are joining my training, we are all starting out new. We are all smaller agencies. We don't have the luxury to show fancy offices, but it is relevant when it comes to dealing with local clients, because your clients think from their eyes when they meet you, when they look at you, the way you dress yourself, the way you talk, the way you sit. your body language, everything will matter when you're pitching your clients in a meeting, when they meet you. And your pricing is going to be dependent on that heavily. So perceived value is very very important. So when, especially when you go to local clients, make sure that you're dressed up properly, and you have a nice haircut, clean shoes, you look like a sorted person, a healthy person. And it's very very important. So perceived value is important, especially important working with local clients. With international clients, you can also show perceive. For example, to help my to help enhance my perceived value, I often uh, tell the client that I use project management software such as Basecamp, and that helps me when the client sees, okay, I'm going to be communicating with a Pulkit through a project management software. There'll be a lot of team members on the site, and that's why also I recommend that, about page you have team members, so that you do not look like a one man army. That all the, and even your profile picture, on your LinkedIn profile, your about your the picture of yourself on the about page, all of that is your attempt to increase your perceived value, how you look on your website from your online presence. It is very very important. So don't underestimate the power of this value, perceived value. And before you go on a call or in a meeting, make sure that you take these five with you. And there is one more that is extremely important, that is more important than all five of these combined. I want to make sure that you understand that, and that is self-belief. If you go to a call and you have all five, you have expertise, portfolio, upfront value, content, and perceived value, but you don't believe in yourself that you can help the client, you take self-doubt with you in a meeting or in the call, you'll never be able to charge a client even the lowest price. You'll always keep questioning yourself whether or not you can justify the client what the client is paying. You need to really believe. You need to be in a way, you have to be naive sometimes to just think that I can give value to a client. Even when you're starting out new, you need to have belief, self-belief. It's very very important. Without self-belief, just forget about charging a premium. Doesn't matter how old you are in this industry, how much experience you have in the industry. There are people who have worked in industry for 10 years, but when they go to pitch a client, they lack belief, they keep doubting themselves, and the client can immediately sense when a candidate or a vendor is lacking belief, and the client will automatically instantly start negotiating with you that I'm not sure whether you can help me, and you're also charging me so much, so why should I pay you so much more. So when you go into a meeting, just tell the client that you have a problem, I'm the expert who can help you, and I'm sure I can help you. You just need to pay the price, and I can only help you if you're ready to pay the price. So go to your next call or sales meeting with all of these: expertise, portfolio, front value, content, perceived value, and self-belief, and you can charge a bomb to your client. Like I always say, you can charge a lot. And despite all of these, all of these, if you are constantly bumping into customers who cannot afford you, it's not an industry problem, it's a targeting or marketing problem. Because there will be instances when you have all these, and still you have clients that are constantly saying no, that they don't want to pay that price. Either the problem is not bad enough, that is not it's not a burning problem, or you're trying to target a wrong industry. The people don't have budgets, the broken businesses, you are trying to reach out to them. A good example in my case is that if I write about topics that are relevant to a smaller audience. For example, if I write about how to start a small boutique, guess what, who would read an article like this, a small boutique from home? that would be housewives who want to start a small boutique from home, and then if they contact me for my services, and if I tell them that I'm going to charge you $1,500 per month to manage your Instagram account, guess what? They'll say that I don't have the budget for it. In that case, no matter how prepared I am when I go into the meeting, they just don't have the budget for it. So I'm not reaching the right audience. It's a marketing problem. So make sure your targeting is right. You're only pitching your services to the clients who have their budgets. Only after you know that they have their budgets, they'll be able to pay a premium. Only then you can persuade them, and all the things that we're talking about will make sense. But again, even after all this discussion, the question still remains how to price your services now that you're starting out new. Let me give you an easy strategy that I use. I used a lot when I started, and I use even till this date sometimes with some of my clients, is that I ask the client about their marketing budget to achieve their goal. So in the sales training, you've seen that you have to ask the client about their marketing budgets, and from those marketing budgets you get a sense of whether or not a client has a budget to hire you, and if they have the budget, how much they can pay you. A client is always fearful about giving you budgets, but you have to constantly push the client into sharing their budgets. And what if the client refuses to share his or her budget? You just tell him or her that if you want me to create a practical strategy and to help you achieve your sales goals, I need to know your budgets. So in the sales training, I've told you that you need to ask the clients you have to send them a form in which you ask them to share their marketing budgets. So there are instances when the client says that I don't want to disclose my marketing budgets, and it happens to me all the time when the client says that I cannot give you a budget. You tell me how much should I spend on marketing. In that case, I first try my best to convince the client that I can promise you the moon, but I need to know whether you can afford the fuel that can take you to the moon. In other words, I can only give you a practical strategy if you can share your budget. I might say that go and work with the top influencers on YouTube, but the truth is that these influencers can charge you $2,000, $5,000 for a single mention on YouTube. So I'm sure working with a certain YouTuber can help you generate a lot of sales and exposure, but what if you don't have the budget for it? So why should I don't want to spend time on something that you cannot afford. I much rather put my time into something that is aligned with your marketing budget, something that you can use. Only then I can give you a practical strategy that is useful for you. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to guess. I don't want to give you a strategy that is useless. You're spending time and money in working with us, and you're putting so much into this relationship. So we much rather make it a meaningful one. So give me your budgets and I'll be able to help you better. But if the client still says no, I don't want to share my budget, you tell me, you're the pro, how much should I spend? In that case, just give them the higher price and start negotiating from there. In that case, just tell them, okay, I suggest that you can start with, or maybe you can give an example of a client that you work with. For example, I might tell a client that I work with a client who is based in US, and they are spending roughly $10,000 per month on Facebook paid ads, and we are charging them anything around $1,500 per month. And they're also working with influencers. Their marketing budget for that is this. So you tell them you open the figures, you tell them a price that's on the higher side. Immediately this client will jump and say that okay, that's I can't afford this is too much. And then you start negotiating from there. The client will say, okay, I cannot afford this much, but I can afford this much. Then tell them that okay, if you can't spend $10,000 per month, you can start with a small budget of, let's say, $2,000 per month on Facebook paid ads. Then the client might say, okay, I cannot even spend $2,000, then come lower. So from there, within a 10-minute of discussion, you'll be able to judge from the client's reaction, the way what he tells you, that how much they're actually willing to spend, and based on that you give them the pricing. And again, when you're starting new, especially when you're lacking content, portfolio and belief, you might have to negotiate with the client and lower your price. So how can you do that without lowering your value? uh, by which I mean that there will be instances when the client will say, after all the discussion, and it's your first pitch, you're pitching to the client, and the client is also a smaller one, and you just want a client because you want to practice what you've learned in this training, and you want to start from somewhere, which I advise. Working with a smaller client on a smaller budget for a smaller fee is better than doing no work waiting for a bigger client. You just start from somewhere. So how do you negotiate with the client without lowering your value? Because the problem in lowering your price is that your perceived value, your actual perceived value also drops. For example, if you tell a client that I charge let's say $1,500 or $1,200, $1,000 per month, and then suddenly you say that okay, I'll do it for you for $200 per month. This drop can really hurt your perceived value, because then the client will think that you will not do a good job, because we associate low price with cheap, with something that's cheap. So we automatically assume that the client will automatically assume the quality that you'll give to them for such low price is going to be really low. And even in that case, you have a good chance that the client might not end up hiring you, uh, even at such lower price, because we human, that's how we perceive the value. Anything that is expensive, we tend to value it more, even if it's the quality is same. The price does have a lot of impact the way we perceive anything in this world. So how do you lower your prices without lowering yourself, lowering the value of your service? This is how I do it when I'm pitching the marketing service. If I, especially starting out new, if there was a time that I want to lower my price and I want to make sure that I give them an offer that the client can't resist and they can start with the project. So this is how I used to do it. So you can give them a 3-month discounted price and close the deal. And the way I do that is that if a client is saying that no Pulkit, I cannot spend $15 per month, or I cannot spend $1,200 per month, this is way beyond my budget, and I don't even know whether I'll get an ROI after investing in Instagram, because I've started Instagram marketing uh, last month, and the last agency I hired also promised a lot of things like you are promising me, but I did not get any ROI. So there's no way I'm going to spend $1,200 paying a consulting fee, and then because I'm not sure if I'll get any ROI on this. So in that case, the way I would approach, or what I'll tell the client is that, okay, Joe, let me give you an offer. Our actual price for Instagram marketing service is $1,200 per month, but I'll let you test my services for 3 months at a discounted price of $600 per month if we can start in the next 2 days. And for the 3 months, we'll charge you only $600 per month. That's 50% discount. And 3 months are enough for you to test our services, and after 3 months I'm sure you'll start seeing results as well. You'll know the content, the quality of content that we produce for you. You'll know what's the level of our work, and after 3 months I'm sure you'll be more confident paying us our original monthly retainer fee. And after 3 months, depending, we can have a discussion, and depending on how satisfied you are from our work, we can revise the pricing and reconsider the pricing after 3 months. And in most cases the client says yes, because they are getting a good deal. $600 is not a bad pricing as well. You can still make profits by charging $600 to a client. And you also have an exit strategy that after 3 months the client knows that this is not the real pricing. I'll still have to revise the pricing, and the client then thinks that maybe I do get results working with this guy, and then I don't mind paying him $1,200 if investing $1,200 is making me $5,000 or $10,000 with this guy. So the client, suddenly his risk lowers down drastically, and your perceived value also drops, because you are saying that it's a limited offer. You're going to do it for 3 months, and you're not changing the original price. The original price is still $200 per month, and you're only doing this to do a favor for them to let them test your services at a discounted price. That's how I lower my price, especially for my marketing services, in which I charge a monthly retainer. And now make sure you tell them that this is a limited offer, and to avail this offer they need to start immediately, as you have limited bandwidth and you're also talking to other clients. And if I get a new client in a couple of days, I might not be able to give you this discount because I right now have the bandwidth. I might not have the bandwidth after 2 days because you're talking to other clients. So make sure the client understands that this is a limited offer, because if you don't tell them that it's a limited offer, the client will again say that, okay, let me think about it and get back to you. Just tell them that you have to take a decision now and tell me within a day or two. 2 days is the maximum. Ideally, just say that you have to tell me within the next 24 hours if you want to take this offer. And that's pretty much it. I hope this video helped you decide on the pricing. It has given you the clear idea and strategies to price your services, especially when you're starting out new. Definitely after 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, when you have a portfolio, when you have a team, when you have more self-belief, you'll be able to charge more to your clients, and you'll be less negotiating situations. And even if you have to negotiate yourself to a client now or after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, this is how you negotiate on the pricing without lowering your value. Okay, so I hope you got some value from this trading video. I'll see you in the next session. Bye bye.